What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the Am I Gardener channel. So in today's episode, we're going to be enjoying the weather. And we're also going to be planting up the Vegepod. But enjoying the weather first. It is an absolutely beautiful summer day here in Michigan. I am just absolutely loving the weather. It could not be better. I mean, it's about 75 degrees. We're supposed to get about a high of 77, slight breeze. You just really cannot ask for a better day. What are we doing today? Well, we are planting out the Vegepod. I was pre-soaking this before I turned the camera on. I was pre-soaking down the bed here, and that's basically the first thing that I do before I plant. The first reason why I soak it down is because I need to soak the bed so that the soil settles. I just filled this up. I filled it up. We'll get into the soil mix in a second. I'll tell you why I settle it first. But you want to settle it because when you first fill a bed, there's a lot of air trapped in there that's just, it's air from filling the bed. It's not necessarily good air pockets from just having good quality soil. It's air from just throwing the soil in, and it has not had a chance to really settle down yet. So that's what we did, is we settle it down, because the last thing you want to do is plant a plant into your soil and then have the soil level drop like 3 or 4 inches, because then everything's off balance, nothing's planted properly, stuff even shifts around and might move closer or might move further away, and it's just way better to let it settle a little bit. And so I was doing that first. And then the second reason why I soak down the soil before I plant is because it reduces transplant shock. If you reduce transplant shock, you're going to have a much better opportunity to have healthier plants, because what happens when we often put our plants in dry soil is plant roots do not like dry soil at all. And if they touch dry soil, what happens is the ends of the root fibers actually die off. It's a lot like air pruning. You know, you see all those air pots and smart pots and things like that, those fabric growing containers. Well, what happens is they touch an air barrier, and they actually the root fibers end up drying and dying off. And it eventually will grow back and create a healthy root system, but it does temporarily stunt the plant if you plant directly in dry soil. So we don't want our plants to be stunted. We want them to just really take in, just kind of take off and grow quickly here. So that's what we did. We just soaked it down so that our plants don't suffer as much transplant shock, because you always will have some. You know what I mean? You always will have some. It's just about reducing it as much as possible so that you don't have all those different components fighting against you. The next thing I want to talk about before we get planting this up is what is our soil mix? So the soil mix, everyone has been asking me to go through it, and it's really, really simple. It is 1 part run-of-the-mill potting mix. Nothing special, just kind of not the cheapest quality stuff, but not the most expensive either. Because had I filled this up solid with potting mix, the highest quality stuff I can find, you're talking $150, $175 for soil to fill this thing up. It's a lot of soil in here. I mean, this is 18 cubic feet of soil. So it's certainly, you spend $25 a bag, and it's 2 cubic foot bags. I mean, you're talking a lot of money. I'm not going to try to do the math on camera, but it's like 9 times 25, something like that. Either way, it's expensive. Someone will do the math down in the comments box below. I guarantee it. Either way, very expensive. And so it's like $225. I think I just did the math properly in my head, but it's like $225 worth of soil to fill this bed up with the highest quality stuff possible. I'm not about that, because at the end of the day, I'm planting vegetables in here. I want to see a return on my investment. I want to be able to save money on my grocery bill, not see money just leave my pocket only to just have it gone forever. So I want to see it come back. So what I did to kind of cut the cost was I went with potting mix that was only about $6 a bag, pretty cheap stuff. Again, not the cheapest stuff, but also not the most expensive, just kind of run of the mill, $6 a bag. And then what I did was I cut that 1 part potting mix to 1 part compost. And I also say that compost is not all created equal, because it's not. Sometimes you get some really cheap garbage out there that's super, super cheap, and then you've got some really expensive stuff. Now with compost, I prefer to go a little more on the expensive side, because at the end of the day, you're not going to spend really more than $7, $8 a bag for your compost. And that's for the most expensive stuff, the highest quality stuff. So I would much rather skimp on the price for the potting mix and go premium on the compost, because at the end of the day, it's about the same price per bag, really. And so you're gonna get a much better quality mix, you're gonna get a lot more nutrients, you're gonna have a lot more benefit to your plants, and you're gonna actually save a lot more money. What's going in it? So we got some stuff here. I know for a fact we're going to not have enough plants to fill up this entire space, and that is fine. I want to encourage you guys. We got a lot of other plants behind the camera there that are just kind of overflow plants in case something happens or dies, or something goes to seed and opens up a spot for us to plant in. We've got lots of plants that are overflow plants, and that's important to have. But I really want to encourage you guys not to plant something just to plant something. I kind of consider it like a diet, right? If you're on a diet or you're trying to watch your calories, you're even just trying to eat healthier in general, you always hear people say, well, if I'm not really going to enjoy it, I'm not going to ingest the calories, because I can save those calories for something else that I'm going to enjoy. Plain and simple. And that's really kind of how it is. I mean, you don't want to get bloated with a bunch of plants that you really don't necessarily need. Number one, you might have enough of and you don't need any more. Number two, it might not be the end plan. Sometimes I have stuff planned and then plans change, and that's okay. That's actually okay. It's totally fine to leave a bed blank for like a week or so. Now, the whole summer would be a different story. You don't want to leave your bed blank the whole summer, because then you're not actually taking advantage of that growing space and you're not growing food for your family. But at the end of the day, if it's just a week or maybe 2 weeks at most, chances are by that point you'll have a better plan to plant something, rather than just seeing a space and throwing a plant there just because you have it. And so that's what I'm really working on not doing, because I am the first person to admit, I mean, if there's ever someone that's done this, it's me. I am just so bad about it. I put plants anywhere where there's space sometimes, and then I'll go back and I'll say, man, I would have really liked that plant to go over here now. You can't dig it up once it's already growing. Or, man, I already had 6 kale plants. I didn't really need 3 more. I would have kind of liked to plant a couple more peppers. You can't, I mean, you can pull up a fully mature plant. It's totally possible. But at the end of the day, it's kind of hard to justify a fully mature plant. You know what I mean? It's kind of difficult to pull that up once it's growing. So sometimes it's better just to leave the space blank a little bit, give your mind some time to process your plans, and then approach it again. So that's what we're gonna be doing. We have these plants here that I know I wanna plant here, and these are plants that are going to benefit from this small space. I'm not gonna put a cabbage in here. That's ridiculous. A cabbage takes up 2 square feet. I'm not going to, and I can't put a pepper plant or a tomato plant, because this top hoop covering that has the netting over top of it, it's too low. So the tomato plant would grow into it and hit it, and you'd end up with just a total mess on your hands. And a pepper plant might be big enough. You could probably get away with a pepper plant, a smaller, kind of stockier version, like a habanero or a jalapeno, things like that. Something that doesn't get really big and bushy, but still, it's a small space for that big of a plant. So I don't really want to dedicate any crops like that to this bed. I want to keep stuff that's going to benefit the most from having that netting. Things that usually get plagued by insects during summer. These are things like Swiss chard. I've got some beautiful Swiss chard here, some rainbow light Swiss chard. I've got some more lettuce. I know you're probably thinking to yourself, Luke, don't you have enough lettuce? Well, this is actually a summer planting of lettuce, because this system here has a mist setting, right? This mister actually keeps cool water misting on the plants. And so during the heat of the day, what I plan on doing is I plan on running that mister that's going to actually keep the leaves cool, and it's going to absorb some of that sun's energy so that the plants don't overheat and start going to seed. It's a great method of growing lettuce during the summer. It's a great way to do that. I also have some other lettuce here. This is just it's an iceberg, but I'm going to be growing it for its leaves. We talked about this in our high intensity planting video, that you can grow lettuce for its leaves even though it's a heading lettuce. So I plan on doing that. And then I got these. I could not resist. I just couldn't resist. I don't need any more onions, but get a load of this. Get a load of this. This is a red bunching onion, folks. A red bunching onion. It's like a Tokyo long bunching onion, but deep burgundy. I am so geeked about this. I'm just so pumped that I found this. And I don't even really know what it's called. It's called a Lilia green onion. All right, so the first thing I want to plant are these bunching onions. Again, just throw the whole bunch in there. There's about, maybe 8 to 10 plants per bunch. Throw them close together, and that way you're going to get a really quick harvest. I love bunching onions because they're ready to harvest in about 45 days. It's not like onions where you have to wait 80, 90 days for them to become ready to harvest. They're quite literally ready to harvest whenever you want. So not quite, kind of goofed that one up there. I maybe spaced them just a little bit too far apart. There we go. Perfect. Okay, I'll plant one more right there. Oh, nope, I actually ran out. That is a Camelot shallot. So that is okay. We'll just run with it. That's part about gardening, is just running with it. All right, those are planted. Now the next thing I want to plant are some shallots. I absolutely love shallots. We eat so many shallots. These do have to be divided out because they will not grow like this. They are not a bunching onion. So I'm going to divide these out and I'm going to plant them up here. I promised Miss Emma Gardner I would plant as many shallots as I possibly could. So that's what we're doing. We're planting as many shallots as I possibly can. Alrighty, here we go. Kind of made my line there, nice and straight. I don't want my lettuce kind of encroaching in on my shallots there. We're gonna plant these as close as we can get them to each other, because we're gonna grow these out for their leaves. Now we talk about this all the time, how the reason why I love growing leaf lettuce so much is because you don't have to worry about the temperature. When it comes to growing things like head lettuce, you have to worry about the temperature because the warmer it is, the higher the chance the lettuce is going to bolt. And so if you're growing something like iceberg, this right here being iceberg, you can't grow it during warm weather like this. It will bolt, it'll go to seed. So we plant it during the warm weather, we just cut it for its leaves, and we still get a harvest rather than getting nothing at all. All right, and the final thing we have to plant is our Swiss chard. Absolutely love Swiss chard. I cannot get enough of it. It's such a great plant. You can use it, it's just so versatile. You can use it like spinach. You can use it like lettuce. You can let it grow, turn it into wraps. We actually take the stems, believe it or not. This is so crazy, but we actually take the stems when they get really thick. They get, the thickness of my thumb. And what we'll do is they actually have a texture identical to that of celery. Since I'm allergic to celery, we'll let the leaves get really large. We'll use the leaves in a salad, but we'll cut off the stems, which are normally discarded because they get kind of woody at that point, but they're still crisp and delicious. And they're kind of stringy, so they taste almost exactly like celery. And so what we do is we'll put peanut butter in them and we'll eat them just like celery. You really don't even notice a difference. All right, so there we go. We're all finished up for the day. Now, obviously, it's half full, but like I said, that's gonna be for the weeks to come when we figure out what we're gonna plant there. But for now, I think it looks awesome. We have our red bunching onions, we have our shallots, we have our leaf lettuce, we have our Swiss chard, and the back row there is going to be for some herbs. So really excited about how this came together. It looks awesome, and stay tuned for future episodes when we're gonna be planting the rest out, harvesting from it, and all that good stuff as well. So I thank you guys for tuning in for today's episode. Again, it was, just me out in the garden, but I hope you guys learned something from it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys, if you have not yet already, make sure to give it a huge thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you've not yet already, because this is just the beginning of the growing season. We got so much more planned. So I thank you guys so much for your support and for tuning in, and we'll catch you all on tomorrow's episode. Remember to grow big or go home, everyone. Bye.